Beauties, TJ for Beauty here, back with another video for you guys. Have you ever went to like Sephora or another makeup store or counter and you went on a mission to find the perfect foundation match for you? You got help from a salesperson, you tried it on in the store, and you got it home and you were excited to put it on so you can incorporate it into your makeup routine, and then it looks a mess. You go through all that only for your foundation to actually not look good at all, and it looked completely different from how it did when you went into the store. If you've ever struggled with being able to find a perfect match for your foundation, I have a treat for you today. We're going to be talking about some different things that you should consider when you're choosing the right foundation shade. I know that it can be a little tricky and sometimes it's intimidating for people that they just don't even bother with it at all. So I wanted to give you a few tips and like rules of thumb that you can have to refer back to when you're actually selecting a foundation shade for yourself. I know you may be thinking, okay, I go to the store, like I get the people there to help me. That's what they're there for. And while that may be true, I always say that like I wouldn't necessarily solely rely on the people that work in the store. After so many years of research and trial and error, I just wanted to kind of put this video together because I know that it can be a pain trying to find the right foundation shade, and it also can be expensive because you're constantly buying foundations that just don't work for you. So I think it's important for you to have some knowledge and information for yourself just so you can be better equipped and better prepared and, you know, more knowledgeable when you're actually going in and selecting the foundation shade. At the end of the day, it's for you, not them. So I have a little story time. And this is why I feel like you can't solely rely on a lot of the people that work in the makeup store. So I'm in a makeup store. The store shall remain nameless, obviously. But I'm in there with my friend. We're in there. We're shopping for makeup. She goes one way. I go the other. But she's like, I'm going to ask one of the girls that works here if she can help me get my shade match. I'm like, cool. No problem. So she's over there for a while walking around. After I do my shopping, I meet back up with her. And by this time, she's talking to like a girl that actually works at the store. So they're looking at all the color swatches. You know how they have the display set up. And my friend asked her, so yeah, like, what is my undertone? The girl said, get ready for this. Gray. Gray. Nobody who's living and breathing's undertone is going to be gray. I'm pretty sure the only person that I can think of whose undertone is gray is probably the Bride of Frankenstein. Can't think of anybody else. Elvira maybe. I don't know. And I was taken back by that and slightly offended. And at that point I was just like, you know what? We're not even doing this today. Don't even worry about it. I was just like, how do you even work here if you're giving somebody that type of information or that type of advice? But that's neither here nor there. So I'm making this video for you so you don't ever find yourself in a situation like that. Okay? Another thing that you want to consider is when you're in the store and you find the foundations that work for you, even if you swatch them in the store, make sure you take them home and you swatch them again. And not only would I swatch it, I would actually try out like apply it to my entire face, because one swipe is not going to give you what the actual color is going to look like when you put it on your entire face. I would put it on, try it, wear it out, look at it in different light, and see if it matches you, if you like how it looks outside of the store. I don't know what it is they do with those lights in those makeup stores, but those lights are shady. Something is not right with those lights in the makeup store. I feel like everything looks good in those lights. The moment you step outside is a different story. I don't know. So go ahead, grab a pen and some paper so you can take some notes, jot this stuff down, all these tips that I'm going to give you. Go ahead, I'll give you some time to grab a pen and some paper. Go ahead, I'll wait. So coming up next, I'm going to actually show you the process that I go through when I'm trying to select the right foundation shade for myself. And I also do this on any of my freelance clients that I have as well. The next time you go foundation shopping, you'll be fully prepared, you'll know what you're doing, you'll be confident, and you'll be able to find a foundation match made in heaven. Okay, I am going to apologize about this lighting in advance. It may look different because I broke one of my ring lights literally while I was setting up. So there's that. Hopefully I'll be able to replace it soon. I don't know if you can replace just the bulb, so I'll have to look into that. the joys of being a YouTuber. So, okay. When you're selecting the right foundation shade, there are some things you want to consider. The first is color. And by color, I mean the actual color of your skin, the color of the foundation. You want to make sure that the color of the foundation matches as closely to the color of your skin. That's pretty obvious. I feel like that's usually what everybody uses to like judge what their foundation shade is, or you know which one you should buy. The second thing you want to consider is the coverage. Foundations come in different coverages, from lightweight all the way to full coverage. So I think that a safe zone is to get a foundation that's like medium to buildable. That way you can get more bang for your buck. I think when you have a foundation that's medium coverage but buildable, you can use maybe just one layer for day to day if you're going to work, something like that, and then you're able to build the layers of the product for like an evening event, a night out, a wedding, anything like that, or if it's a setting where you're going to be photographed. So I feel like that's the safe zone. Everybody doesn't really like full coverage, and then everybody doesn't necessarily like lightweight coverage either. That's like the foundation that I typically like to buy, is a foundation that has like medium to buildable coverage. Next thing you want to consider is the undertone. Now this one is this one trips a lot of people up. It even trips up professional makeup artists sometimes. So if you have a hard time with this particular factor that you're considering when trying to pick a foundation shade, it's fine. The most common mistake that I see when it comes to like foundation matching, even if you get help from one of the salespeople at the store, this can also happen, and that is choosing maybe the right foundation shade but not necessarily the right foundation undertone. And that's where it can get a little tricky. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You bought a foundation, it looked like the right shade in the bottle, and maybe you swatched it in the store and it looked like it was a good match. And then you got home and you went to do your makeup and you put the foundation all over your face, and then you ended up looking gray, or you ended up looking muddy. Most of the time that's because the undertone isn't right for you. So what you can do, usually as a rule of thumb, what I like to tell people is, if you look at the inner part of your wrist, if you can kind of see the veins, sometimes your veins either look a little bit more green or they look a little bit more blue or purple. If they look a little bit more green, that usually means your undertones are yellow or golden, like me. When I look at my arm here, my veins look green under the skin. If you look at your veins and they look a little bit more like blue or purple, then you probably have more cool natural undertones. There's warm, there's cool, and then you have neutral or olive. I like to group neutral and olive in the same category. They're kind of interchangeable. I feel like if you have olive undertones or natural undertone or neutral undertones, you could kind of use a foundation that kind of addresses both. If you do have a neutral undertone, it's not as easily detectable as maybe like a warm or a cool undertone would be. So the only way that you really may be able to tell, let's say you get a foundation and it has a warm undertone, and you put it on and you feel like it still doesn't work. And so then you maybe get a foundation that has a cool undertone and you put that on and you feel like that still doesn't work. Like it kind of works, but it's a little off. Then you probably are neutral or olive, because it's kind of a mix of both and falls somewhere in between. It's not quite warm, but it's not quite cool either. If you've ever shopped for foundation, you may notice that with some brands, the foundations may have a name and it will say warm beige or warm sand or something like that. That usually means that obviously it has a warm undertone. Then you have sometimes where they'll have like numbers where it'll be 320W or 425N. Well, the W stands for warm and the N stands for neutral. If a brand has those easy identifiers when it comes to undertone, that will help you in being able to narrow down your selection and pick the most suitable shade for you. Once you're able to determine your color, the coverage that you want, and what your undertones are, the last thing you probably would want to consider is the price. Like, what's your budget? How much are you actually willing to spend on makeup? And it's fine because you can find something at any price point, I believe. If you're going to splurge on something like on one item in your kit, I feel like the foundation is probably where you should spend the most money, because that covers the most real estate on your face, and that's going to be the most easily noticeable if it's not right. Another thing to consider when trying to find out exactly what your undertone is to think about like your physical features. So for example, if you have naturally blonde hair, you're probably going to have a natural cool undertone. If your natural blonde hair is more on the warm, sandy blonde type of spectrum, then you may have more of a warm natural undertone. Now, if you have naturally brown hair, if your natural hair color is brown, then you probably have a warm undertone or golden undertone. Let's say you have blue eyes. If your natural eye color is blue, that would probably increase your chances of you having cool undertones, versus if you have naturally brown eyes, then you're probably going to have warm undertones. Also, you can consider jewelry. This is another rule of thumb. Obviously, it's not necessarily about your preference. It's more so what looks more flattering on you. So if gold jewelry looks more flattering on you when you wear it, then you probably have naturally warm golden undertones. Like me, I can wear silver jewelry, but gold jewelry is more flattering. And that's because I have golden undertones. Whereas someone who naturally looks better in silver jewelry, if it complements them more, than cool undertones. But I will say that 9 times out of 10, maybe not 9, maybe like 8 times out of 10, if you're a woman of color, you're probably going to fall into the warm undertone category. And warm includes like goldens, yellows, and sometimes it can even show through. Like if you look in your chest area, or if you look at the high points of your face, like your forehead, your chin, your nose, things like that, if you look in those areas, a lot of times you will see like a color shining through that's kind of like under the skin. Obviously there are exceptions to every rule. I have found, just as a freelance makeup artist and having clients, you know, my clients range from all different complexions, all different skin tones. So I would say when it comes to like women of color, the darker skinned women of color sometimes I find can have cool undertones. And that's just what I've learned in my experience. Now that may not apply to you if you are darker skinned, but that in my experience, that's just what I have observed. You have all of these rules of thumb, right? But maybe you're still confused about exactly what your undertone may be. I get it. Sometimes it can be confusing. It was confusing for me for a long time. It took years of research and practice and getting it wrong to completely understand the whole undertone versus skin complexion concept. The rules of thumb just kind of serve as like a baseline. Most brands, especially like the higher end brands, not so much the drugstore brands, some of them but not all, but they'll give you like foundation description, like warm tone beige or pinky toned beige or deep terracotta with olive under, like something like that. Now, picking out one foundation shade is always the most helpful, because a lot of times you may get a foundation shade that you think is for you and then you get it home and it doesn't work. So I always like to suggest, if you have it, if it's feasible, buy more than one shade. So pick the foundation shade that you think is your actual match, and then go up one shade and then go down one shade. If you can get all 3, great. If you can only get 2, then maybe go down one shade or up one shade. It just depends on, you know, your coloring, if you get tan, whatever it is. But try to get more than one so that you can compare them to see which one is a better match. So once you're able to get your 3 different foundation shades, or 2, if it's 2, that's fine. You want to bring them home and you want to do what I like to call a swatch test. So I'm going to demonstrate the swatch test for you today. To do that, I have these foundation sticks with me here. These are the Milk Makeup Flex foundation sticks. And we're going to consider color, coverage, and undertone. In terms of color, these were sent to me. I didn't purchase these with my own money. I just told them a different foundation that I use and the shade, and they sent me these 3 shades, I guess just based on what they had and based on the information that I gave them. In terms of coverage, I really didn't have a choice because it was a gift, obviously. But I believe that these are medium coverage, so I'm fine with that. It says here that the finish is a natural finish, so that's cool. Okay, so the shades that they sent me are Almond, Honey, and Golden Honey. So like I was saying about how, you know, a lot of foundation brands will actually have a description of the color with the undertones like listed on their website, that's very helpful when it comes to like choosing a foundation shade, or at least the right undertone. Because if you can see what kind of undertone the foundation has based on the description on the brand's website, you'll be able to eliminate the ones that, you know, you may look at the color and think, oh, this is for me, but if it's a cool undertone and you have warm or yellow undertones, it's probably not going to work for you. So almond is described as medium tan with neutral red undertones. So off the bat, I know that that's probably not going to work for me, because red, you would think, is a warm color when in makeup, because it's a little different when it comes to makeup. So in makeup, red actually falls under the cool side of the spectrum, okay, when it comes to undertones, okay. And then I have honey, which is described as, now this is from Sephora's website. So honey is described as medium tan with golden olive undertones. So I think this one sounds like it could work, because I know that I have golden undertones, and I also know that sometimes my undertones can read a little on the neutral or olive side. So honey is a contender. In my mind, I'm optimistic about honey. Okay, and then the last one is golden honey. Golden honey is described as medium tan with warm golden undertones. Again, I'm optimistic about this because it has warm golden undertones. You see how helpful that was? Because honestly, I could rule almond out, because I know for a fact that I don't have cool undertones, but I'm still going to, because it could still work, you never know, I'm still going to include it in the swatch test. When you're doing your swatches in the store, they always swatch like right here along your jawline. I was actually taught this when I went to makeup school, that when you're trying to find a foundation match, swatch it along the jawline, step back or look into a mirror, and then see if it matches yourself or your client. With more experience, and the more experience that I've had just as a makeup artist and in doing my own makeup, I always like to, instead of swatching on the face, I always like to swatch the chest. The reason for this is, women of color, usually we have, our body is usually like 6 different complexions. Your face might be one color, your face might be 2 colors or 3 colors. You know, we have hyperpigmentation, we have some discoloration, we have dark circles under the eyes. Like, a lot of times we have a lot of stuff going on. Your shoulders could be one color, your chest could be a different color, your neck could be a different color. So because of that, I never really match to the face, because you can match to the face, and then if your face is darker than your body, then you're not going to be the same color. You're going to look like you have a floating head. Vice versa, if your face is lighter than your body, you don't want to give Casper, you don't want to be ashy in the face. So I always suggest, and I think it's best, if you match your foundation to your chest. I think the chest is one of the easiest places for you to be able to actually like see what your undertone, your true undertone is. And then if you get foundation to match your chest, your neck, and your face will all be the same color. I always say match the foundation to your chest, and then everything else will match. All right. The first one I'm going to swatch is almond. Now this is the one that is medium tan with neutral red undertones. That's almond. The next one I'm going to swatch is honey. That's medium tan with golden olive undertones. Then golden honey, which is medium tan with warm golden undertones. Okay, so I have my 3 swatches here, right? Straight off the bat, like I said, almond is a no-go. If you can see how pink, how it looks kind of like almost gray, or you can see how pink it looks, it's reading very pink, right? And that is because it has red undertones. Red, pink is cool undertones in the makeup world, okay? This is a no. It looks light, but the reason why it looks light is because it's not necessarily too light for me. It's the right color, but it's the wrong undertone. And so because it's the wrong undertone, because it's a cool undertone, it's making it look ashy. If you've ever done your makeup, or you've seen someone else like have makeup on and their face looks ashy, it's not necessarily because they have on the wrong color foundation. It's because it's the wrong undertone, okay? So let your sis know that she needs to come and watch this video. Make sure you share it and like it. Leave a comment. Tag her in it. Okay. This one is honey. And honey looks like it could be a good match. And then you have golden honey, which looks like it could be a good match, but it looks a little light. Like this could possibly be my winter shade, maybe if I get lighter. Now we have eliminated almond. We just have these two here. So the next thing you want to do is, while you have your swatches here, you want to take a foundation brush or either a sponge, whatever you usually use to apply your foundation, and you just want to use that to kind of blend out the edges some of the foundation, because when you swatch it, it's basically like its truest color. You want to mimic how the foundation is going to look when you apply it to your face, and you're not going to apply it to your face like this and leave it there. Once you apply it, you're going to blend it out. So that's kind of what you want to do on your chest as well. All right. Okay, I'm not even going to worry about that because we know that that's a no-go. I blended out both golden honey and honey. When you're doing this, it's always good to look in a mirror. Sometimes you need to take a step back, look, check yourself out, take a step forward, get a little closer, check yourself out. Maybe you want to go outside to the daylight, you know, check it in different lighting and all that good stuff. From where we're sitting, I blended both of these out. Now, golden honey, you can still kind of see. It's like it matches, but not really. Out of the three of these, if I had to pick one, I would pick honey because it disappeared. You can hardly even see it anymore. Out of these three, honey basically has completely disappeared. And that's how you find your color match. So I'm going to use honey to do my makeup, and I'll be right back with the finished look. Okay, sorry guys, I know this light probably isn't the best because the sun is going down now, so the light is changing. I just wanted to show you guys the final look after I applied the foundation, did my whole makeup routine. If you want to see my updated go-to makeup routine to see how I achieved this look, then I'll make sure that I link that video down below. Just to recap, you want to consider color, coverage, and the undertone. And there are plenty of videos and plenty of blog articles. You can do so much research online if you need more information on exactly how you can determine like what your undertone is. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, follow me on Instagram. You want to do that. It's @TrenaeJXO. I'll also make sure I leave it down in the description box below. And until next time, beauties.